Hey guys, so tonight on Politically Incorrect, let's get into this Twitter feed. First of all, I want to thank you. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I greatly appreciate it. Let's get right into it. Let's see what they're talking about today. Trump to suspend immigration to the United States. Okay, let's see what America got to say about that. Oh, somebody liked one of my replies, I guess. Who was I replying to? Oh, is he going to allow his I doubt it. These are the same kids that I believe felt like the White House wasn't good enough for them to live in. So I doubt that they'll be going into the bowling alleys on Friday or whatever. If you catch chicken, that sounds about right. I can believe that Donald Trump found his wife on SugarDaddies.com. That definitely sounds absolutely correct. Let's see. Street parties. Here we go. Trump supporters are so racist. So I guess it's, okay if this is the Democrats dying from coronavirus. Okay. It's so funny to me how Trump supporters always hide their face. Like, if you notice, all of their profile pictures are like cartoons and characters and, see, like this little, what is this? A little doggy ghost. What is that? I don't know. Terrorists kill a lot more than corona. War on terrorism. Now that's what we should be focused upon. And did you blame Obama for the 13,000 H1N1 deaths? If not, shut it. Here they go. Let's get into this H1N1. Because if I'm not mistaken, it was 12,000 something people died from H1N1 in a matter of an entire year. So why people want to keep comparing coronavirus to the H1N1 virus is beyond me. But let's get into it because you know I don't want to sound like I'm being racist or biased, but these light skinned folks, they tend to seem like they're just naturally more knowledgeable than us darker skinned folks. I mean, they say stuff and tweet stuff all the time, especially Trump supporters, without actually having any facts whatsoever. And let's get into this because I'm quite sure that 12,000 people died of H1N1 over an entire year, as opposed to the 42,000 deaths we've had um, as a as a result of coronavirus in 2 months. If I'm not mistaken, the first coronavirus that was reported in on February 20th. So let's see, from April 12th to April 10th, 2010. April 12th, 2009 to April 12th, 2010. Um, CDC estimated there was 60.8 million cases, 274,304 hospitalizations, and 12,469 deaths in the United States due to H1N1. So here it is again, perfect example of people just saying anything and doing anything to support Donald Trump, I suppose, because that's his only reasoning for stating this very, very weak argument. And I mean, You see that from April 12, 2009 to April 10th. 12,469 deaths. Now, what she want to be signed up for my son's grandmother? It is almost 1 o'clock in the morning. What is this lady texting me about? Now, this is saying after the peak of the illness during the second wave had come and gone in the United States, a vaccine was produced. It was not available in large quantities until late November. So, so over the span of entire year, 12,469 people died. If I'm not mistaken, the H1N1 was determined to be over in August of 2010. That's when they declared there was no longer a pandemic. At that point, the vaccine had been created, but the vaccine was not largely available, meaning available to everyone until November of that year. Okay, so from April to November to about August is when how long it actually took them to bring this to a close. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, about 7 months. Okay, so we gonna let him know that information because I'm sure he's gonna have some type of snappy comeback. Because again, these people don't like to be wrong. They don't like to be challenged, just like Donald Trump. Especially by us darker skinned folks. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make that clear to him that that's not that though it is the case, it is the case that that is the amount of people that did die from H1N1. It is the case over a span of a year. Now, currently we're at 42 deaths over 2 months. Now, imagine if 42,000, we're at 42,000 deaths over a span of 2 months. Imagine if 42,000 people died every 2 months for an entire year. I'm going to let somebody else calculate that because that's numbers I just can't do. Now, it took approximately 7 months for this vaccine to be created. Currently, I know that scientists are stating that they need at least 6 months to create a vaccine and have it tested and approved. Currently, while Trump is trying to reopen the economy. But if it was up to the doctors and the scientists and the medical specialists, we would all remain quarantined for at least 6 months, the time frame that they state as minimal that they'll be able to create a test and approve a vaccine for coronavirus. We don't understand where's the comparison. We're going to let him tell us. We're going to let him figure it out. That's mind-boggling. I'm sure, and I like to fact check because sometimes these people be so confident in in the things they say. I oftentimes wonder if I'm tripping or if I'm wrong. And I'm like that is what it says, right? Okay, I promise you, he's gonna have some type of weird response. not the bitch wearing the Islamo-fascist terrorist hoodie. Now, who is doing that? But notice how Trump supporters tend to not have actual profile photos. That's strange. Not says the Muslims. You see what I'm saying? You see how just racist you spelt the word China wrong spelt. Spelt even a word? Let's see. Spelt. Spelt. Spelt while you're correcting somebody about they spelled a word wrong. Spelt past and past participle of spell. I guess it is a word. I mean, I always used the word spelt and thought it was part of my New Orleans lingo. Part of Urban Dictionary. I, I, I guess I was wrong. You learn something new every day. It actually is a word according to Oxford. Actually, that's your all you and your types care about is me. And by the way, President Obama allowed 30,000 Americans to die before. Here we go again with the H1N1. Now, we just read that over the span of a year, 12,600 and something people died from H1N1, also known as the swine flu. Now, here it is. We have this person stating that Obama let 30,000 people died in of the H1N1 virus before declaring it a national emergency for 7 months. That is all completely incorrect information. The vaccine for the H1N1, aka swine flu virus, began being worked on within weeks of the discovery, the first known case of this virus. So here we go again. Somebody, let's get into it. Again, this information is so widely available. I don't understand why people don't take the time out to just get correct information as opposed to just throwing information out there like, you know, people can't read. Like people read, we read, dark skinned people read, Democrats read, leftists, whatever else they want to call us, we read. Do you read? I don't think they read. Because this information is right here. It says the United States mounted a complex, multifaceted, and long term response to the pandemic. Summarized here. On August 10, 2010, WHO declared an end to the global 2009 H1N1 influenza pandemic. Y'all see that on August 10th. So, okay, let's be clear. The first year, 12,643 people died. Let's just say, for argument's sakes, that between April and August of that year, what is he saying? Approximately what? 17,000 more people died, for argument's sakes. The first year, 12,000 people died. He's basically stating that after the first year, 17,000 more people died because it was declared, it was no longer declared a pandemic in August of that year, right? So that's clearly incorrect, first of all. So we just gonna not entertain that. We just gonna reply to him and let him know that that's that's crazy. Blah blah blah. So you expect zero people to die? Yes. Like, I don't want to expect any of my family and friends to die. No, I don't. Yes, I expect zero people in my life to die. today or tomorrow or next month, next year. Yes, I expect that. What the hell type question is that? Are they serious right now? So China killing a doctor in front of his wife is okay. I don't know about that. I don't think that's okay, but I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with immigration. Wasn't that what we were talking about? It's okay. Another Trump supporter without a profile picture. Not the fuck Trump coloring book. Nah, that's not right. But I mean, hey, what are they talking about? Kim Kardashian. That's old news. Why are they tweeting about that right now? I mean, people are comparing the Trump presidency to the Holocaust. That's absolutely out of control. And you go, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp said it specifically that fitness centers, bowling alleys, body art studios, aka tattoo shops, barbers, hair, can reopen Friday. Yep, won't be there. I'll wait. It will not be a test subject of the Trump administration. That's right, Kentrell. Don't let them bully you, girl. Keep our people safe, child. I think that Governor Brian Kemp is a Trump supporter anyway. Um, I know that during the election, Trump did win the state of Georgia. And, I believe that Georgia is a Confederate state, meaning Georgia is one of the states that did fight to keep us enslaved. So I can probably understand why he be Team Trump and willing to sacrifice the African American community, which is most affected by coronavirus, for their studies and samples and everything else they need. But let's see, it's not fake media, but it is certainly is exaggerated. Here we go now with this 2017 2018 flu. Now they want to keep comparing the coronavirus to the flu pandemic, and I just don't understand how that is a comparison. Because, first of all, during the flu season, during the entire year, yes, 60 something people, 60,000 people, I believe, however, last year did die from flu, but 50,000 of those people were older than 65. So the vulnerable population was um, easy to identify. But let's get into these facts, because here it is again. People just spew out incorrect information on Twitter all day, every day, and I mean they do it with such confidence it'll have you thinking that you're reading everything wrong. So let's see, 2018 season, including an estimated 35 people getting sick, 16 people going to the healthcare provider, 490,000 hospitalizations, and 34,200 deaths. That's in 2018, 2019. In 2017, 2018, I very well believe it was 60,000 or so deaths, but 50,000 or so of those deaths were adults over the age of 65. In the 2018 says peak activity during the 2018-2019 flu season was classified as having moderate severity across ages in the population compared with the 2017-18 season, which is the season that this guy is referring to. So let's get into that 2017-2018 season. However, rates of among children, however, rates of influenza during the 2018-19, the 2018-2019 season were similar to the 2017-2018 season. So even though the rates were much lower in 2018-2019, the infection rate in kids was the same. Again, having a easily identifiable vulnerable population, easier to treat, easier to identify. Again, I'm not really seeing the comparison. As you can see here, older adults also accounted for 75% of influenza associated deaths, which is clearly not the case with. I told you he was going to have a snappy reply. Okay, let's get into this 2017-18, in which 61,000 deaths occurred. And let me see if I can locate the information that states that of those 61. Here it is, right here. Here it is. Age group. Now, you can see here that's just basically stating that there's been some update of the numbers prior to this report being published. That happens all the time. Like right now, China is updating their numbers, and Trump is acting like it's some type of malicious intent, like this is not a thing, you know. That happens, once the smoke settle, people update their numbers and get correct information, and autopsies start to be done, and people get clear information. But instead he's off acting like, I don't know, I cannot understand for the life of me why people continue to want to support Donald Trump. Like, I can't understand why they find reasoning for it. And the the character of the people that support Donald Trump, I think, speaks more than enough volume towards his character. So here it is. He said nobody said a word when 60,000 people in the U.S. alone when died from the flu virus. Again, this is over, when we look at these numbers, we're talking about over the span of an entire year. A full season. And you're talking about 60,000 deaths when we've lost 42,000 people in 2 months. Now, I'm going to say that again. If we lose 42,000 people every 2 months for an entire year, that's a lot. Even 57% of hospitalizations occur in older adults age 65. So the flu is not at all affecting the general population like coronavirus is. So to make that comparison is just completely politically incorrect, factually incorrect. It's just wrong. Okay. You know, I scroll my Twitter feed all the time because it's where I get a lot of information. I spend a lot of time watching CNN and I read a lot, and I scroll my Twitter feed and I get so mad and I get angry. Here it is here. There it is. 50,903 deaths accounted for the, the 65 and older population accounted for 50,000, almost 51,000 of the 60,000 deaths from the flu virus. We're going to let him know that. So I scroll my Twitter feed and I get so annoyed and I start fussing and I'm talking to my kids about this stuff and I'm so passionate about it and they're like, Mama, you need to get that information out, because like you're screaming loud, but it's nobody here to hear it but us. And it's important information and you should figure out a way, to get the information out there because it's not right for people to be, just putting wrong information out into the universe. And again, they speak it with such confidence that people repeat it and they spread it, and it's just wrong. It's just not true. Now we're going to try to find a comparison of coronavirus by age, but it's so difficult now to find accurate numbers in regards to coronavirus. As you can see, even with H1N1 and even with the flu, it was so easy to get those numbers. See, this is so extra. Like all the little side notes and stuff. This is just another example of Trump just making it difficult to even obtain the proper information that we need to make informed decisions about what's wrong and what's right. Like, this is so convoluted, it's just out of control. Like, those other numbers were so easy to get. Like, we have the numbers here, but you see how, there's all those sidebars and influenza. Why is influenza that's with pneumonia with COVID, that from all cases, 603,000 of all ages. But even here, you can clearly see, it's all ages. You know what I'm saying? So even with this information here, as the 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 column that's most important to us is the one that states it's COVID that's from all causes, meaning that you have COVID-19. So was it the pneumonia that caused your death? Was it something else? That's why it's pneumonia that's with COVID-19. So was it respiratory? You got the COVID-19. Was it the respiratory issues that caused your death? Was it, so it's kind of broken down into all of these subcategories or whatever. But even with that being done, you can still clearly see when we scroll up to the portion where it's right here. You see that it's it's uh not just a a certain vulnerable population that's easily identifiable, like with the flu virus. So again, a lot of this information is data that's issued and maintained by the World Health Organization. And as you know, Trump has suspended funding to the World Health Organization. So, we're not getting those numbers. They're not reporting. And for me, as long as I've been following coronavirus, that's the source that I've been looking to, the World Health Organization, the CDC. That's the major reporting. It's supposed to be the major health reporting organization in the world, literally in the world. So for Trump to suspend funding from them is just mind-boggling. It's just another show of his arrogance and wanting to place blame on everybody but him. But I was aware. I posted a picture on my Facebook page today of myself from, I believe it was February 13th or something like that, where I was wearing a face mask, and it was based off information that I was receiving from CNN, from Sanjay Gupta, from the World Health Organization. And if I was able to obtain information, if I was clear on what was happening or what could be happening or the possibility of something happening, I wasn't clear on exactly what was going on, but I knew something was going on, and that the people at my job was coughing, and that they all had the same cough, and that this was happening in China, and that I was going to start to wear a surgical mask at a time where we were being told by our president that surgical masks were ineffective. Now, I can understand that they wanted to save the surgical masks for the healthcare workers, but I would have rather them been honest enough to say that as opposed to saying that they were not ineffective, because that was a downright lie. Okay? It was a lie. Those are the same. Now they want us to cover our face with cotton masks, and those actually are 100% ineffective. Okay, but when people was wearing the masks that were effective, they was getting on national podiums stating that they were not effective. That's a lie. That is why, because if everyone had started covering their faces at that time in February when I had started to cover mine, this wouldn't be out of control. Even at that time, he could have said, hold the surgical mask for the healthcare workers. Now, here we go again. In the end, there were close to 30,000, and it took President Obama 7 months to declare a national emergency. Here we go again. That's absolutely incorrect. But as I was stating, had he said then, save the surgical mask for the health workers, but go ahead and cover your faces, that may have helped alter some of what we're dealing with right now. All right. But let's get into these numbers, because that's absolutely not true. Now, we just read on the H1N1 situation, aka the swine flu. But we're going to get into the fact that he's saying that it took President Obama 7 months to declare a national emergency in the instance of the H1N1. That's absolutely not true. The first case of H1N1 was discovered in early April 2009, I believe. The second case was discovered in about, I want to say, April 17, I believe I seen. Here it is, H1N1. And by April 25th, I believe it is, they had already begun to work on a vaccine. But we're going to get into those numbers in a second. So, and you would think that because there was already, there was a pandemic during the Obama administration, Trump would have studied that pandemic and realized, what the results of that pandemic was, and it would have made him better equipped to handle this pandemic. But that's too much like intelligent for Donald Trump. Clearly he does lack intelligence. I mean, I'm no president and I'm no political leader in no shape, form, or fashion, but I can read. Okay? So here we go. Pandemic. Preparedness background. Here's all the information. This is according to the CDC, Center for Disease Control. Okay? So, let's see here. So it says a virus emerges. H1N1 was first detected in the United States in April 2009. Okay. It says the virus was first detected in a 10-year-old patient in California on April 15, 2009. Okay. 2 days later, CDC laboratory testing confirmed a second infection. So now we at April 17th for the second infection. Okay. Okay. It says that CDC remained in close contact with the international health communication as the outbreak unfolded, and on April 18th, under the international health regulations, the United States International Health Regulations Program reported the 2009 H1N1 influenza cases to the WHO, World Health Organization. Now, this is the exact organization that Trump just suspended funding to. Okay. Now, this is in 2009 when we spoke of the flu, influenza, A and B last year. Data also came from the World Health Organization. Now, here it is in 2020, Trump has suspended funding. Okay, it says CDC worked closely with state and local animal and health officials on investigations by tracing contacts of both patients to try to determine their infection. Okay, so immediately on April 18th, after the third case, they begin to work on this virus to trace it and see where it's coming from, where it's going. Now, this virus actually originated in America, in the state of California. Okay, so we're gonna check this timeline now. Okay, by the time coronavirus made it to America, it had already killed quite a few people in another country. Okay, so there was already evidence that this was happening. Not if, but it was a when situation, because as the scientists and the doctors continue to report, they were very clear in stating that this wasn't a if, this was to spread to America, but when. Let's see. We're gonna screenshot that and just so. First of all, that's incorrect. Oh, this guy replied. Oh, okay. So this is the same guy. He's replying to us, and this is his reply that says, "In the end." So we're gonna let him know. We're gonna give him a little timeline, and we're gonna show him the screenshot because we're not gonna sit here and type all of that information, and which Twitter has a character limit anyway, so we couldn't do that if we wanted to. At the end of the day, when I reply to these people, it's because, you know, I hope or I want to open their eyes to who it is they're supporting. Like I feel like it's my way of helping to get this man out of office, opening people's eyes to the lies being told and the rumors being spread by providing actual factual information and citing the places where I'm receiving this information. Okay, here it is. Response ramps up. All right. So CDC work closely with state and local animal and human health officials. We read all of that. Uh, it states that by April 21st, 2009, CDC had begun to work on the vaccine. Okay, so now the third case was discovered on April 17th. Okay, by April 21st, within a few days, America had already started to work on the vaccine for this virus. It also lists here the steps that it takes to create a vaccine as well. Um, it says CDC activated its Emergency Operations Center on April 22nd to coordinate the response to this emerging public health threat. On April 23rd, samples submitted by Texas revealed two additional cases. On Saturday, April 25th, of the information, under the rules of the International Health Regulations, the Director General of WHO, the World Health Organization, declared the 2009 H1N1 outbreak a public health emergency. On April 26, the United States government determined that a public health emergency existed nationwide. CDC's Strategic National Stockpile began releasing 25% of the supplies in the stockpile. Okay, this including 11 million regimens of antiviral drugs, and PPE equipment, including 39 million respiratory protection devices, masks and respirators, gowns, gloves, and face shields to states. You see that? The United States government. This is all within weeks of the first case being noted. I'm just unclear. Like I really hope this guy read this and I don't understand where he got the information that it took President Obama 7 months to declare a national emergency. Now, this is the thing with Trump, like I was saying earlier, this was a stockpile here. So we clearly see what the stockpile was. Now, at least for the sake of argument, okay, you should have at least studied the Obama administration, which was the administration prior to yours, to know that there was a pandemic during that time. So, considering that, let me go and make sure that the stockpile of everything we need has been replenished. He could never blame the deficiencies in the stockpile to the Obama administration. You can never do that. Obama didn't do that. PPE. Did y'all see that? Nobody had to buy that stuff. Trump got people in bidding wars for PPE, for ventilators, for respiratory masks. Like he's turned this whole situation into an eBay auction. That's not true. The federal government should purchase those items and distribute them accordingly as needed. Period. It should not be every state going to private contractors and private labs bidding for PPE and lab tests. Like, come on now. We're going to let him read the rest of that because we're not doing that tonight. Already, it's been enough. I done had enough. I done had enough. That's it. We're not doing this with them all night. So that's the end of that for tonight, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me tonight on my new channel, Politically Incorrect. Um, I'll catch y'all later on this social media feed on this good Monday evening. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe, stay blessed, and please stay home. Good night.